When your eyes are bad, who do you go to? Right, they call him an ophthalmologist. And all he focuses on is those eyes. And he doesn't care about nothing else but those eyes. And when your skin is bothering you, who do you go to? There you go. And if your stomach and your gut is upset, who do you go to? And you keep going to these guys, and everybody is focused on their one thing, and they ignore the rest. It doesn't work like that. Your body is one complete entity. For a moment here today, we're going to talk a little bit about the heart, but I want you to get this in your head. Your heart works to make all the rest of your body function. And you know what messes up your heart? Not your heart. What messes up your heart? All the rest of you. Your mouth messes up your heart. Your brain messes up your heart. When you sit down and don't use these muscles, it messes up your heart. So your heart depends on the rest of your body also. So just keep that in your mind. And just know that you are not just a heart, or just a brain, or skin, or gut, or pancreas, or whatever organ is giving you a disease. It's because the whole body is messed up. You got that? I'm going to run through some quick things about heart disease. We talk about the cost to this country is like, can you read that, by the way? How much money that is? $117.4 billion. It's a little bit more than that, but because the stuff went up a little bit. But that's how much it costs to take care of heart disease every single year. That's insane, isn't it? And the good news, if you want to take some, is that the death rate from heart disease has decreased very slightly, but still 500,000 people are going to die from heart disease alone. All right? And 6 million people in this country will have heart problems this year, and 1.5 million will have heart attacks, and 500,000 of them will die, period. Because it's a serious disease. It's the primary cause of death in this country. Okay? And as I was mentioning to someone earlier, 200,000 or 300,000 people will have stents placed in their hearts, and they'll have angioplasties. And you all heard about that, right? You all know about the stents and the angioplasties and all that. The problem with those things, that they don't last forever. You put a stent in, it's probably going to be blocked up in 3 years or 5 years. If I put an angioplasty, if I did an angioplasty on you, which is just a balloon they put in to dilate the cracked up artery to allow blood to flow, that doesn't last very long either. So this is what a stent look like. Is there a pointer on this thing? That's what a stent look like. You see, that is an example of the artery. The first one where the stent is inserted, then they showed how you expand it. That's with the balloon, angioplasty. And then they leave the stent in. And the stent kind of keeps the vessel open for a while so the blood can flow. The reason why they had to do that is the blood vessel was blocked up in the first place. That's why you're having problems. See, I'm from the Dark Ages, that's why. And I'm looking to see which one works. Is it this one? Yeah. Yeah, I got it. I'm no longer in the Dark Ages. Don't laugh. I usually send my messages not by text. I send it by pigeon. Wrap around the pigeon like, okay. So what the thing is about this stent thing is your blood vessel is very amazing. The way the Lord made it. Look at this one. Nice and smooth and everything is cool and it's wide open, blood is flowing. But look what happens over time as you get plaque buildup and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't look like a nice open tunnel anymore. It looks like half a tunnel or sometimes less. Sometimes it's completely blocked up. So the blood can flow smoothly, but as you age, arteries become less elastic, calcium content increases, and this is called natural hardening of the artery. Now let me tell you something. For many years they taught us, and they put it on TV, that certain things are going to mess up your heart. Cholesterol, don't do this, don't do that, and your heart's going to be messed up. Don't take coconut oil, don't whatever. They told you these things are the cause of your heart problem. Learn this forever. I remember that, and I heard Dr. Watkins mention it. The number one problem for heart problems is not what they told you, but is what they're doing to you. For instance, the number one cause of heart problems is sugar. And I mentioned this before to you that in 1987, the government did a study on people who died from heart attacks. 300,000 people who all died from heart attacks. And what they found when they looked is that only 46% of the people who died from heart attacks had high cholesterol. The other 54% had normal cholesterol, but they died from heart attacks anyway. So they started thinking, well, maybe cholesterol is not my enemy. So let's look again to see what they found. And what they found in 87% of the patients who died from heart attacks is an increased inflammatory protein. Some of you might never have heard of it, but your body also has inflammatory proteins in them. Protein C, and sometimes your doctor will measure that for you. I heard Dr. Watkins telling you to bring your labs when you're coming because protein C, protein S, homocysteine, those are proteins that will tell you that you have an inflammatory problem going on in your body, and that inflammatory problem is going to be the cause of your heart attack. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Anyway, arteriosclerosis is a little bit different from the natural hardening I mentioned earlier. Remember, I told you as you get older, the calcium gets deposited and the vessels get hard, but arteriosclerosis is not exactly the same thing. What happens in arteriosclerosis, this is what a normal blood vessel looks like, right? Nice and smooth. We showed you the picture before, but when it starts to build up stuff, it creates an abnormal blood flow. You see how the blood flow look here? And then here it started to get narrower. Whenever that happens, your pressure is going to go up. Okay? Anytime you compress the area that the blood is flowing, and you have the same volume of blood flowing through a smaller area, guess what? Pressure goes up, right? So as this stuff accumulates, it blocks up the artery, and as the artery blocks up, you are dealing with ongoing arteriosclerosis. Eventually, the whole artery blocks up, and these are the arteries on your heart. Now, everybody talks about heart, and they think, but let me advise you that there are arteries everywhere in your body, okay? Not just on your heart. There are arteries in your brain. There are arteries going to your legs. There are arteries going to your gut. There are arteries everywhere. And when an artery is blocked up, it can affect any part of your body. That's why strokes happen. Strokes happen because the artery to the brain is blocked up. And when it's blocked up, you get a stroke. If the one going to your heart is blocked up, you get a heart attack. If the one going down to your legs get blocked up, what happens? You get gangrene of the foot. And then you may need an amputation. Any artery that gets blocked up is going to cause a problem depending on the area of the body that the artery supplies. Okay? So I'm showing you here a heart. That's what we're kind of focusing on, but I want you to keep in mind your whole body has arteries. Your fingers, your toes, everywhere. Your eyes too, by the way. So these are the arteries that run along the heart, and they have names. We ain't gonna go through all the names, but when they block up, you get this problem that creates what they call heart attacks. And the heart attack can be in the front, the side, the back, or the other side. You get heart attacks, and depending on where it is, it can affect the functionality of your heart. Okay, I want to show you something quick. Cholesterol. They tell you in the doctor's office that your cholesterol should be less than 200. When it gets between 200 and 239, that's borderline problem. Over 240 is bad. All right, that's what they tell you. But here's the bad guy. This one right here is worse than all the rest of them. LDL, the one they call LDL or low density lipoprotein, they call that one the bad cholesterol. And when it should be less than 130, but most people are running around with this number, 160, 180, stuff like that. Then there's triglycerides, same thing. And then there's a ratio between the two, between the the LDL, the bad guy, and the good guy. The good guy should be higher. And there are certain foods that make this higher. And if this is higher, it's better for you. You understand that part, though, right? Okay. Triglycerides cause more problems than anything else. As I said, everybody talks about cholesterol, but triglycerides cause the most problems. But where do we get triglycerides? Do you know where? From from your favorite stores. The big Macs and the small Macs and all the things. Anything that has a fried food in it, and especially when they're fried with those oils, they like to call them vegetable oils. Okay, vegetable oils are wonderful when they're natural and raw. The minute you heat them up, they become triglycerides. Okay, well, trans fats. Let me say, they become trans fats, and those things are the worst things in your body. It causes more problems than all the cholesterol you may eat. These bad boys. Then here's some other problems, and I mentioned this before. Some people with a decreased thyroid function will have an elevated bad cholesterol. Now, the thyroid is a gland up here, and nobody pays it much mind unless when it's not working well, but it controls the metabolism in your body, and it keeps the metabolism going at a certain rate. If that thyroid is not working, the metabolism messes up, and then you start developing problems that you normally would never get. So it is important to treat your body as this whole thing and check on all of it, okay? Because it determines, you would not think that your thyroid could mess up your heart, right? But if it's not working well, the heart is going to suffer. Okay. Some people with decreased thyroid function will have elevated bad cholesterol. Why? Because the thyroid hormone helps the liver to remove the bad cholesterol from the blood. So if your thyroid is not working, you're not going to lower your bad cholesterol, and you're going to have problems. So when you go to your doctor, make sure your doctor checks at least once a year everything in your body. It's one entity, as I said. It is not separate organs. They're all interrelated. Let me tell you another secret. And I mentioned this right here in this thing before, and we'll mention again. Your body needs cholesterol for many essential functions. Cholesterol is not your enemy. Okay? You need it for sex hormones, both men and women. And if you did not eat any cholesterol in your diet, your body has the ability to make its own cholesterol. I heard mentioned this morning about an enzyme called CoQ10, coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 is the enzyme that your body uses. Well, not the Q10 itself, but an enzyme that makes Q10 in your body, hydroxymethyl coenzyme A. You don't have to remember the name. That enzyme makes cholesterol. It also helps to make coenzyme Q10 in your body. Now, in the modern version of the medicine, you heard it, it's on TV, cholesterol is blamed for most heart diseases. I told you before that is not true. Let me repeat that again. Yeah, that is not true, okay? This is the chemical structure of cholesterol. You see it? Good. This is the chemical structure of the female sex hormone, progesterone. Don't they look like first cousins? Except with a little thing added on and stuff. See? You need cholesterol to make that hormone. This is the male one. Doesn't it look like his second cousin up here? You need it to make the male one too. I'll show you something else. Vitamin D. Look at what vitamin D look like. It look like cholesterol, doesn't it? Remember to tell you when you go out in the sun, you expose your body, you make vitamin D, right? Is that what they tell you? It would only make vitamin D if you have some cholesterol in your body. If you don't have cholesterol, you're not going to make any vitamin D. And you can stay in the sun all day until you bake. It's not going to make a single thing. So it's important to understand how this body of yours function and how it works before you start doing certain things. But let's go back to triglycerides a minute. This substance, all by itself, causes more cardiac problems, okay? And this substance occurs where? Most meats, fried foods, your favorite Dunkin' Donuts, and in foods cooked with trans fats. What is a trans fat? A trans fat is a vegetable oil that has been processed so that it has changed its function. It's a chemical function, but it becomes a trans fat. So when they tell you, get your vegetable oils, try this, try that, just make sure that you know the difference, because vegetable oils are the ones that can become trans fats, usually by heat. All right? Here's the thing I want you to remember, that triglycerides will become, and there are, the most accurate marker to predict heart attacks, not cholesterol. You got me? Okay. So, as we said before, a whole bunch of people will die from heart attacks this year. Now, half of these deaths will have none of the classic heart attack warnings. Everybody tell you, when you're having a heart attack, you feel chest pain or your chest tightness. Half the people don't get none of that. They just die. There's no warning. You'll be walking in the mall shopping and just drop dead. That's what happens. There's no predictable warning. Some people may get the warning if you're lucky, but half the people who die from heart attacks get no warning whatsoever. Okay? They sometimes you don't see all the high blood pressure, no high cholesterol, and no prior heart problems, but they still die from a heart attack. Keep that in your mind always. Okay? In other words, heart attacks have occurred in people with normal blood pressure, normal cholesterol, and no previous heart attacks. They're just walking in the mall and leave us. That's how sensitive your heart is. So here's the real enemy to your problem. Blood viscosity, that's how thick your blood is. Okay? And it always has been the culprit. Cholesterol, the LDL is the bad one. HDL, that is a cholesterol too. But that's the good one. You want that as high as possible. This one, you want as low as possible. Here's another problem that can cause heart attacks. Smoking, but how does it do it? It causes inflammation, which increases the clotting protein in the blood. They call it fibrinogen. Here's another problem that can give you a heart attack. Diabetes. Why? Because the high sugar in the blood makes the blood thick and makes the blood cells stiff. Have you noticed that when you have diabetes, one of the things that they measure is hemoglobin A1C? Have you remember that word? It is measured because hemoglobin is the thing that's in the red blood cells, and blood sugar sticks to hemoglobin. And when the hemoglobin is high, when the sugar attached to the hemoglobin is more than 6.5, that is not good for you. And most diabetics are 14 and 15. That's how bad it is. So the blood in diabetics is very thick, and that predisposes also to heart attack. And then obesity. Obesity increases the viscosity of the blood and also increases that thing I told you about, the fibrinogen, which was caused by smoking. And of course, females, gender. The good thing is that females who are still young enough to have menstrual cycles don't have as many of these problems as the older females. When you get older and your menstrual cycle ends, you start getting like the guys and you get exposed to a lot more problems. So how to keep this from happening? Exercise 30 minutes a day, right? 30 minutes. It doesn't mean that you have to join a gym, but go for a walk. Stand up in your house and jog. Whatever. Keep moving for 30 minutes a day, and it could be 10 minutes after breakfast, 10 minutes after lunch, or 10 minutes after dinner. Doesn't matter. 30 minutes a day. Eat a plant-based diet. Why? Because this kind of diet is very low in triglycerides, and triglycerides is your number one enemy. Of course, these medicines that they will prescribe for you, I want you to remember the names: Zocor, Mevacor, Lipitor, Zetia, Caduet, and all these medicines. And there's a lot more, by the way. There's a lot more from that. They charge a lot of money for. Beware of the side effects. They cause very damaging side effects. And most of them, the Mepicor, the Zocor, the Lipitor, they block that enzyme I mentioned earlier called hydroxymethyl coenzyme A that makes CoQ10 and help to make the cholesterol in your blood. It blocks that enzyme. And so when it blocks the enzyme, you will no longer make coenzyme Q10. So you start having muscle cramps and muscle pain and fibromyalgia and all kinds of things. And you're wondering, why is this happening to me? Because that enzyme, CoQ10, is not being made anymore in your body. And so you're going to have the problems that's related to a deficiency of that. Now, watch out for these other ones, the blood thinners like aspirin, Plavix, Coumadin, and heparin. Many patients are put on those routinely by doctors to try to help you not get a heart attack. I got news for you. You may not get a heart attack, but you on one of these things, you're going to get a stroke because you're going to bleed in your brain or something. But these things cause a whole lot of bleeding sometimes, okay? So just be aware of that. Okay. I always like to talk about this plant-based diet. I heard Dr. Watkins talking about it. It's found in the Bible somewhere, Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Okay. That plant-based diet was designed for this body. Okay? And we need to go back to it as much as we can. Some doctors will tell you eat meat and liver and this and that. The World Health Organization has classified red meat as a class 2 carcinogen. Did you know that? That red meat is classified as a class 2 cancer-causing agent? Were you aware of that? And were you aware that the processed meat is classified as a class 1 cancer-causing agent, like them hamburgers and those hot dogs and stuff? The World Health Organization classified them as a class 1 carcinogen, which is the same as a cigarette. A cigarette is a class 1 carcinogen. A hot dog is a class 1 carcinogen. So why would you even go there and eat those things? So, do not go after your antioxidants in the form of pills because it makes money for the pill-making company. You can get them from natural fruits like blueberries, pomegranates, and many other kind of fruits have the same antioxidants in it. You don't have to buy a pill, okay? Now, some people may be allergic to the fruit, and in that case, you may have to make some modification. Keep that in mind. But whenever you can get the fruit, eat it, okay? Double-blind study. This is what we do in medicine. We do this thing called a randomized double-blind study where nobody knows who is getting what, but you wait till it's finished to see the results. That's why they call it double-blind. Okay? And they found that this simple thing, okay, decreases cholesterol by 16%. It lowered this LDL by 22%. HDL, the good cholesterol, increased by 14%, and the triglycerides was lowered by 16%. What is this thing called? Polycosanol. And what is it? A plant extract from the skin of a sugarcane plant. Can you believe that? Yeah. An extract from the skin of a sugarcane plant, they found that it did give better results than all those cholesterol drugs. And as I mentioned earlier, can this be done? Yes. Bill Clinton, who was not no vegetarian, he used to go for a jog every morning and stop at McDonald's on his way home. Y'all remember that? He would go jogging and stop at McDonald's, but he realized that he needs to change what he needs to eat. Okay? Number one killer. This is a preventable and reversible disease. Do we have that in our head yet? Heart disease is preventable and what? Preventable and reversible. And sometimes we get words mixed up. How do you reverse something? You reverse something that you already have. So if you already have it, you can reverse it. Okay? If you don't have it, you can prevent yourself from getting it. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It is so simple. Right? I don't know why the thing is, I think, but seems out of thing. I want to mention about this. There's a guy, um, and who wrote this book. He was at Cleveland Clinic, and he wasn't even a heart surgeon. He was a breast cancer surgeon, by the way. But he started doing something in his home for some of his colleagues who were all getting heart surgery and dying from heart attacks. And he started a little something in his home. And after he saw the results of it, he wrote this book. Okay, you can prevent and reverse your heart disease, but you can only do it by making lifestyle adjustments. Lifestyle adjustments does not mean that you move to a different city. Okay, it means it means that when you go to the supermarket, you have to learn what kind of food to buy. You have to learn how to prepare that kind of food that you bought. Because you see, a lot of times we think that this is just, I can take a pill for this. No. Okay, you cannot take a pill. You have to make an adjustment. Let me give you a quick story. 2 months ago, in the Journal of Neurology, published in this country, something happened at Rush Medical School in Chicago. They did a 9-year randomized double-blind study. They were studying people with Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't know how many of you ever saw it, but they had people with dementia and Alzheimer's. The people were between the ages of 55 and 99 years of age. And they took those people and they put them in this study, hundreds of people. And they gave some people a cup and a half of raw green vegetables every day, or half a cup of cooked green vegetables every day. And the other people get to eat whatever they want. But nobody knew who was getting what. They just had it blind. Everybody was blinded because they wanted to see the results without any prejudice. But guess what? At the end of about 9 years, when they started to do the mental test, when they started doing the mental test, they did some at the beginning, they're doing some at the end, they were doing the mental test on these people. This is what they found. That the people who ate the green vegetables, just a cup and a half of raw or half a cup of cooked, they scored 11 years younger than the people who ate what they want. Now, doesn't that impress you? 11 years younger on your mental score just by eating some vegetables? So what else do you need? Do you need like a cry from heaven to tell you change your diet? You don't need a cry from heaven, because evidence all over the world has been showing over and over again. They did a study back in China and in Japan and all those countries. I'm sure any of you heard of the blue zones area? Right. I'm sure you do. They did a study on these people and found out why these people don't die from heart attacks, why they don't get cancer, why they don't do this. You know what they found? Is what they ate and the lifestyle they lived. It was that simple. And you can do the same thing right here. You do not have to move to Japan, okay, or to the Mediterranean Sea or wherever. You could do it right here. Just make the adjustment that you need to make in your lifestyle, and you will get the results that you want. Again, I'm just showing you. This is what a balloon angioplasty looked like, but we mentioned that earlier. And there's an association in this country called the American Heart Association. Y'all have heard about it? Good. The American Heart Association, in their journal and publication, tell people to eat meat. Can you believe this? The American Heart Association. The American Cancer Society does the same thing. But here's the secret. If you look behind the books and under the table to see what's happening, you would see that the American Heart Association gets $30 million a year from them food companies and from the farming companies. So they have to do what these companies giving them $30 million a year say. Do you understand what I'm saying? So forget these people and go back to the Bible that says eat some vegetables and some plant-based food. Isn't that what the Bible said? Now that was said at the creation of the world. Now the people are finding out little by little that if you give them some green vegetables, they live longer and do better. It's it's already been made a fact. So why are we still struggling with this? Forget the American Heart Association and eat what is there that was been prepared for you from the foundation of this world. Now, one out of every two men and one out of every three women will develop some form of heart disease in this country if they continue to eat and function like everybody else does. You got that part? This will happen, this piece of information will only come to pass if you continue to do like everybody else does. Okay? And all the money that we spend, billions and billions of dollars, treating heart disease, we can use for something else. Okay? So we spend the money on drugs, drugs to dissolve the clots and all the mechanical techniques, the balloons and the stents and all that stuff, laser, and then bypass surgery. I did this for 30 years. I got paid too. I want you to know. And I'm keeping the money too. I want you to know that too. I got paid, but I'm keeping the money. All right? And when you look, and I'll say this, that there's this strange association between money and the treatment. As I said, in the American Heart Association, the big food companies give them and donate money and so forth and so on. So the American Heart Association wants you to eat what the food companies make. And I said this one time here at this center. I remember when they sued Oprah Winfrey. You remember? Yes, yes. When she made some comment about the beef and stuff, and they sued that woman and took her to court. That's how powerful they are. Of course, she won the case, fortunately, but they have that kind of power, so nobody wants to go against them. That's why you are prescribed certain drugs only, all right? I mentioned once that when they started prescribing Mevacor and Zocor, they went to the government and had the government ban the sale of red yeast rice, which happens to have natural Mevacor and stuff in it. Works just as well, but they went to the government and got the government to ban the sale of that for 7 years. You could not buy red yeast rice in this country. That's how powerful they are, okay? You could not buy it, red yeast rice, for 7 years, because it does the exact same thing that Mevacor does. It will lower your cholesterol without those crazy side effects. Anyway, the major problems leading to heart disease in this country is not cholesterol. What is it? Consumption of trans fat. If you do not remember a single thing I said all day, please remember that. The major problems leading to heart disease in America is fats, the unhealthy ones, sugar, which is the number one inflammatory causing agent, and the consumption of trans fat. If you can keep that in your mind, tell your children and your grandchildren, tell your friends, so that when you go to eat at their house, they ain't cooking the crazy stuff. Okay? Look at what the average American consumes every day. 65 pounds, not every day, every year. 65 pounds of fat. Really? And 2 tons of fat by the age of 60. If you ate 65 pounds a year, by the time you get to be 60, you would have eaten 2 tons of fat. Now that ain't normal, right? That's not rare. That is crazy. So we have to change that. Okay? And so all these people whose names I put up here, so that you can go find their books or Google them online, they have studies that showed how you can reverse your heart disease. Corwell Esselstyn is the one from Cleveland Clinic. We all know about Dean Ornish, John McDougall, Dr. Hans Deal is the guy at Loma Linda with the CHIP program. Nathan Pritikin, Colin Campbell is the guy that wrote that book called China study. I mean, there have been so many, and these guys aren't church going. Well, one of them is, he is, but but I mean, these are not like the church going type of people you would think and hear about every day. These are just regular people taking care of people in their hospitals or in their offices, and realize that you get a better outcome by eating a plant-based diet. Okay, okay. we this is just a quick thing to show you. Many of you heard about the Pretty King diet. Remember, he had a diet years ago for weight loss and all that. And actually, it does work. I don't prefer it, but it does work. But this was published in the Journal of Gerontology. That's the journal of old people, okay? That's what gerontology means. And he published this talking about thing. I don't know why the thing is off center, guys. Please. Same thing? Okay. Some of the problems, let me go back here a minute. This is just the guy from the Cleveland Clinic called Well Esselstyn. And this one, they're showing what the kind of things that people had gone through, the kind of things that people constantly go through. And this doctor decided, look, I'm not going to see this anymore. He was at the famous Cleveland Clinic, but he had to do this stuff in his house. Do you know, because of what he did, he lost his job and all kind of things? Did you know that? Because they weren't going along, and he's reversing people's disease. They were getting healed. They no longer needed heart surgery, and he lost his job. Colin Campbell, who wrote the book about the China study, he was at Cornell University. He got kicked out too. Okay? You can't go against big pharma and big agriculture. You're going to lose, but you can do it. Because when you walk into the store, you don't have to buy their stuff. That's the thing. It's your money in your pocket, and you don't have to buy their stuff. You buy the stuff that will benefit you. Okay? Somebody always says, I love this piece, but don't eat anything with a mother or a face. And I once had a presentation by this famous doctor, and he had a picture of some cows. And the cows were standing in the pasture looking at people sitting around under a tree doing yoga, you know. And during their yoga, they were saying this chant, And the cows looked at them and said, those people are crazy. They got this thing backwards. The word is move. You understand? But don't eat anything. And the cows also said, at least I'm glad that they're eating us, because at least, you know, they're going to die. If they eat us, they're going to die. And we'll be the ones, you know, our children will live. So let them eat us. Okay. This is the nutrition here. Right? See that thing? What does that look like? What does that look like? Cheese. What does that look like? Milk. What is that? You know how they used to tell you how drink this, it does the body good? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. This diet is a diet followed by more than 4 billion people around the world who don't have no heart disease. Okay? It's the plant-based diet. There are 4 billion people around this planet do not have heart disease. Okay? And it's because they live in conditions where they have to eat what they have. So they eat the things that grow on their soil, the things that grow on the trees. They don't go into a supermarket because they don't have no supermarket. Those people live longer and have better lives without heart disease than us. Okay? So we should follow that as an example. We mentioned this before about the famous original diet in the Bible, which was fruits, grains, right? Isn't that so? People, listen, in the Bible, for those of you who might have read it or don't read it, there were people who used to live really, really long. Anybody know how long Methuselah lived? Thank you. Anybody know how old Noah was when he had his first child? He was 500 years old. Okay? I just want you to know. So those people who followed this diet many, many years ago live a good, long time. And that is not by accident. Okay? We have seen people in this modern environment. I have a lady right now in one of my facilities who's 101 years old. She celebrated 101 on June 9th, right? 101 years old. And you wonder, how could they live so long? And they're not in the hospital every day. In fact, she ain't been to the hospital for the last 2 years. 101 years old. How? How is that possible? Because of what they eat and the lifestyle that they live. Okay? Look at this. The nutrients in plants, and this is a thing I do sometimes for people to get the nutrients in plants and animal-based food per 500 calories. Look at this. Cholesterol, plants. What's the number in plants? Animal, fats, plants, cholesterol, and the plants that would have fats like avocado and stuff is a good type of fat. Protein in plants, protein in animals. Now people will come on TV and give you the impression that you got to eat animals to get protein. And I always like to make this story and tell people, anytime you hear that foolishness, go ask the cow how they get so much meat on their body. I've never seen a cow in Giant shopping for no steak. Okay? They eat grass. I've been to Africa and saw elephants, 10,000 pounds. Elephants. All they eat is bush. So they get all the protein they need from eating. The protein in the plant and the protein in the animal is almost identical. Isn't that so? Beta carotene, how much in plants? 29,000, almost 30,000. How much in animals? Beta carotene is that substance that your body takes to make into vitamin A and certain things. It helps to make the things that make your eyes see and all that. Beta carotene? Uh-huh. How much? And plants got 30, almost 30,000, and animals got nothing. Fiber? How much in plants again? How much in animal? Vitamin C. How much in plants? How much in animals? Folate acid, which is a vitamin B. How much in plants? How much in animals? Look at vitamin E. How much in plants? How much in animals? Iron in plants is 20, and animals is 51. Magnesium in plants is what? 548. Animals is that. And calcium in plants is 545. And so let me ask you, which food has the most nutrients in it? And you don't need no PhD to figure that out, okay? It's been there. It's always been there. The plant-based food has more of the nutrients you need. And look at the protein. The one that has the most iron is animal. And even though you may hear this story that iron is good for you, it's very small amounts, okay? Because too much iron will give you a problem, okay? So just keep that in mind.